Let's roll it.
We're rolling.
We got the microphones.
I mean, you guys are pros.
We start with salute. Don't spill your liquid on his computer, by the way.
I'll do that.
All right. Straight from Puerto Rico, Lucas Barreto. Make some intros.
The one and only.
Yeah. My body's already feeling the cold. So.
Oh, spring is in the air. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we sat outside.
Ignore the snow.
Nice.
Ignore
Nice.
the snow on the ground.
Yeah, upstate New York, but we still got some sunlight over here.
No, I appreciate you coming out for this, and I know there's a lot of other reasons you're out here, but maybe just an intro into who you are and how you got first connected with Let's Share the Sun and Jordan Energy.
Yeah, so Lucas Barreto, and I met Bill. That was my first intro to Let's Share the Sun and the Jordan family in general. I met Bill my sophomore year of college at Notre Dame, where I heard about a program that Notre Dame was offering, where a group of students, it was around 14 students, would go down to Puerto Rico during spring break to install solar for families in Adjuntas, which is a rural town in Puerto Rico. And it was a week-long experience, so my initial thought was, Notre Dame gets to pay for a flight so I can go see my family for free. And
That's a good deal.
It's a good deal, so I was like, I'm going to take that up. So, I applied, I got into it, and so it was March 2022, and that was where I met Bill, and I learned about Let's Share the Sun, who was collaborating with Notre Dame to make these projects happen. And I think from there, there was also tied into this experience NBC News, which was covering the installations. And I think one of the days, there was some huge cameras pointed at me, and then Bill noticed that, and we started talking about Let's Share the Sun, the mission, the vision, and it's aligned perfectly with what I wanted to do with my future. So it was really stars aligned, no-brainer, and it grew into a beautiful, beautiful relationship, which I like to joke that now I'm Lucas Barreto Jordan, soon to be Lucas Jordan Barreto.
Oh.
We might want to cut that out of the video.
Edit that out. Let's be real.
So yeah,
They had three $80,000 cameras on the roof of this very humble family who had their brother was sick in bed, and he needed electricity. And there's 12 Notre Dame students. All three cameras are just focused on Lucas. The others are like background. So they were giving him a lot of grief about this. And you handled it so well. I said, geez, this young man has some composure. And not only did you connect with all 11 disgruntled Notre Dame students that weren't getting the spotlight like you, but you also hit it off with the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that family situation, the sister who took care of her brother, she kind of points to Lucas and she says, he looks exactly like my son who died of a motorcycle accident. Today's the anniversary date. And then she pulled out a picture and she was right. It was a pretty good resemblance. And by the end of the day, she had adopted you as her son.
Yeah.
So it was very moving because the human connection is what we care about most. The solar connection, obviously important in enhancing lives with the power of the sun. But that dual component, composure in front of 11 friends and colleagues that, didn't get to you, and you handled that really well. And then this woman started texting you.
She texted me about 2 or 3 days ago. So
to the point where didn't your grandmother get jealous? I'm your real grandmother.
Yeah. Next week I went to my grandmother's home. She was like, Lucas, I saw this photo of you hugging another grandma. What's that about? Abuela. I gotta tell you something.
Well, now you have a lot of grandmas at Juntas.
Yeah.
I think I appreciate the spotlight comment because even in that, Notre Dame feature, Let's Share the Sun stain wasn't dropped, right? And at the core of this, it's not really about that spotlight and putting, us in it, but more about the work. And I think that's, been very evident through, 3 years now that you've been,
Yeah, 3 years, going for
Okay.
4. Going for 4. Yeah.
and many more.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 years actually since I've met you,
Yeah.
but since I started full time, 4 months out for the 2 years.
Well, not to get too biblical on you, but, Notre Dame didn't mention us.
Yeah.
Our good partner Casa Puebla got, New York Times articles. They didn't mention us.
Yeah.
And one of our board members said, remember in the Bible it says, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So we've taken a very humble tack, but we've built so much great community. And one of the things I love about Lucas being involved, and other young people have come to us and are involved, is we do want to be a vehicle for getting young people into the industry. So it'd be good to hear your perspective on this first phase of your career, where in that little segment from NBC you said, I want to help my island.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're helping facilitate do that so that you can be a young leader in this transforming the way we power the planet kind of thing that's happening.
Yeah. So I think my generation is particularly having a hard time finding a lot of jobs in the industry, just with kind of AI taking over and a lot of changes that have been happening in general. So the opportunity, once it presented itself, I'm the type of person that I don't like a ton of direct management and over instruction, and I really appreciate how you and the Let's Share the Sun family and Jordan Energy as well, you guys have put a lot of trust in me to be able to lead my own path and carve my own path with a lot of the projects that Let's Share the Sun has been doing. Obviously, with guidance and supervision all along the way, I couldn't do. I was gonna do some mistakes in the process, but you let me do those mistakes, and I think that's not something very common in the industry and very common for people with their first jobs. I talk to a lot of my friends, and typically it's not positive what they say about their first jobs. It's like, I don't like my boss, I don't like working with this person, I like working with my boss.
You're just saying that because
No, but really,
he's in the other room.
but really, yeah, we gotta quiet down. But really, it's been an experience where you've mentored me to be a leader and been intentional on giving me the right guidance to be a leader, and that's not something I had thought about before really getting into my career and starting my career off. But the positive reinforcement, the constant reinforcement, and I feel like both you yourself and Nancy are constantly looking for other mentors that can teach me things to further my career down the path, and you're constantly looking for bright students, and I feel like you have a talent for that.
Yeah.
With a couple of other students as well.
Well, being truthful, you're a very competent young man, and that's one of the problems with older people not giving enough, space for people to grow. It's of note that when we won the $5 million grant from the Department of Energy, Secretary of Energy Granholm invited 2 people for each organization, 5 organizations, and we had the good fortune that he could represent us. And Ginger Sigmund, who was at Notre Dame Energy, is now at Duke and has a Duke Let's Share the Sun group going. We're the 2 representing Let's Share the Sun, and you were the youngest person in that room by at least 20 years. And that says something about, where are the young people in this industry getting their start, and the fun delegations we have with industry leaders from the solar industry. We just got back from fantastic delegations in March. They don't lose that on. I mean, they're constantly trying to poach you, but we're more fun than they are. So, good luck
By
to
a
them.
mile.
And at the same time, we need more young people getting
Yeah.
that first step in the industry, and successful, empowering experience is what we try to help to catalyze. So we're thrilled to have you with us. I think there's some growth that's going to happen in this next stage by taking on more engineering tasks on the Jordan Energy side with different types of projects. You've gotten it down in Puerto Rico, and you'll always have a part to play
Yeah.
in Let's Share the Sun in Puerto Rico. But the bigger picture is how are we going to grow this industry in
Yeah.
some new context, both in the United States and worldwide beyond your island, where you have some leadership already established in the first couple of years of your life and career, professional life, I should say. So,
Yeah.
time for the older people to shut up and let you young people lead. I'll do that now.
You don't hear that often.
Oh, I knew that was coming.
No, I mean, I think, speaking to that last delegation, there's been many experiences through these, years for you. What would be one highlight memory that comes to the mind from this past delegation?
This past delegation. Okay, so I think something pops up, pretty quickly, and it's our first install day. We were installing in the home of an elderly woman who had arthritis and a lot of other chronic conditions as well that she was battling through. And she was telling her story about how she faced Huracán Maria and how that was for her. She was out of electricity and power for over a year. Her original house got blown away, and she was actually, her original house, there's a river that was separating the main road with her house. So after the hurricane, she was stuck across the river and couldn't get any food, electricity, or clean water to be able to drink. So she was talking about how she had to survive a week or two, first of all, with rations over there. And then after that, they had to throw a rope from tree to tree, and then they carried her across the river, or they would throw supplies to her across the river. And I think what impacted me most wasn't the story, even though it definitely did, but the way she told it. She was very Boricua, Puerto Rican. She was happy throughout, telling the story, saying like, well, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta keep pushing forward. You gotta think in the positive. And she was pretty much bedridden. I mean, she didn't have much mobility when we were talking to her. And I think she also goes through dialysis, so she can't drink a lot of water due to her condition. And she had kind of a spark to her, which you would typically associate with someone very young. Like she would say, yeah, the doctor tells me I can't drink water, but I sneak around and drink like a bottle of water. What's he gonna do? And she just had, I mean, she had so many reasons to be negative, look down on life, think, I'm the victim, everything's happening to me, why is this happening to me? But instead she chose to have like a positive outcome of, these things are happening to me, what can I do to still be positive? And she had a very strong belief, and she was blessing all of the delegates that came down. We did the installation with Wood Mackenzie group, and she was handing blessings all around. I wish the group could speak Spanish because I could not translate what she was saying and put it in the right words. And she was giving whatever she had in her fridge, in her backyard, to us as well. So she gave me some ginger, which I then gave to my mom. She loves ginger. And she gave us a lot of water and whatever kind of food she had. So it was just very refreshing for me. Even after this is like my 6th or 7th delegation, it still impacted me a lot and gave me like, hope, and allows me to take a step back and be like, all this stuff is happening to her and she's still super positive, super happy and moving forward.
Yeah, and this was a bigger group of a couple different delegations kind of molded into one. And I know a big moment through the past, trip was the domestic violence shelter ribbon cutting. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's our 4th, right?
Yeah.
And we have a few more to go. Unfortunately, there's more of that happening than 4 centers can provide support for, I guess you'd say. We had the Solar Sisters with Abby Hopper's leadership, and impressive to see another aspect, young people and women leading. And the women had a chance to meet with some of the former beneficiaries that are now on the board of the organization. The centers have helped to really rebuild lives, and that is so inspiring to see. The solar helps to stabilize the economics of these centers, and keep going on that avenue. You've been helping to lead those efforts. What perspectives do you have on how that's been a part of this whole vision of solar having impact to vulnerable communities and providing hope?
Yeah, so I think part of the mission of Light Share the Sun is going to those most in need, and not only geographically, but also the demographic. And unfortunately in Puerto Rico, I believe it was 2022 or 2023 when they announced a national crisis of domestic violence on the island. And there, the numbers are crazy, more than 2,000 cases. I'm not sure if it was a single year, but there's always something in the news in Puerto Rico about gender violence and unfortunately casualties and deaths. So Light Share the Sun has a pillar which is solar for health. Solar for Women, pardon. And that pillar really aligned with this long-term project to put solar on all domestic violence shelters on the island. And for me, it's amazing to be able to see Nancy, executive director, and Bernie, our former executive director, connect with these women on islands, and that they can be from different nationalities, but they can all relate through that general theme of gender inequality. And it's impressive to see how they can connect, get together. And I would say it's also impressive to see how Puerto Rican women themselves have organized all of the domestic violence shelters around the island. A lot of these have been operating for more than 40 years. And they have amazing administration, they have amazing services, they do legal services, medical services, they do housing services to find the right housing for these women and also help them pay for it, as well as job services, so helping them find a job and being able to be as independent as possible. So I think there still needs to be a lot of work done in Puerto Rico in terms of that, those efforts in terms of supporting women and being able to dissuade that. But I think as Let's Share the Sun, we're trying to support them as much as possible. So it's a very beautiful project, and it's very beautiful to see that this is our 4th year now, and we're going for 2 other installations that I'm excited to finalize.
Nancy shared with me something, because she's going to be spending more time there now with this executive director position, but she basically said, getting to know the Puerto Rican people, I can tell you this, the Puerto Rican women son luchadoras, they're fighters.
Yeah.
So she's gotten some really profound experiences of hearing the stories of women that have gained strength through going through some terrible experiences, but coming out of it. And then the international component, we had women from India, we had women from Chile, we had women from Scotland, we had a rich delegation, and this is not our first delegation, so there's a lot of seeds that have been planted that these experiences, I make a pitch to solar professionals, because I think we create a fun, safe, impactful experience, and then all of these solar professionals are coming back to their communities saying, hey, this is why I got into the solar industry.
Yeah.
And so companies like Clean Capital growing their partnership with Let's Share the Sun, that's what we hoped many years ago would happen. It's so wonderful to see that happening now. New companies coming to the table. There were 3 people from CBRE's renewable division, and Sai Kim is now on our board and such a great leader. So I think it would be good to cover before we end the DOE reality, because they're really in a campaign now to say, hey, our industry can pick this up and do this.
Yeah, and that's a point I love about the solar industry, is that I feel like a lot of people that joined the solar industry was because of the love of renewable, the love of doing good. And that's where it all started. So there's a lot of people that have those values, that vision, and that mission that we can align with a lot of different organizations. Sure, now, there was a recent surge in incentives and a boom in the industry. So there are some people out there that are more in it for the money, but there's still a lot of people that are out there that started out for a love of renewables and maybe not a love of money itself. So those are the types of people that we want coming down to Puerto Rico and doing these installations and these delegations, and soon in other parts of the world as well.
Yeah, well, and now we become lowest cost. When we started as Jordan Energy, we were the highest cost in the marketplace, $8.50 a watt for a 50 kilowatt system, Apple processing facility in the Hudson Valley. Now we're the lowest cost in the marketplace, and we're recalibrating with the national framework. Some challenges, but a lot of opportunity. If you're lowest cost, you should gain market share.
Yep.
That's what we need to do. So it has to make economic sense, but the altruism is something that is kind of cool that solar's happening in the poorest parts of the world.
Yeah.
At the same time, virtually, as it's happening in the most developing parts of the world. So we don't want those parts of the world to be left behind. We want them to benefit, and these delegations help people see it very tangibly. Most of the delegates have never installed a solar panel.
Yeah.
And they're years in the solar industry. So we've gotten that feedback. As important as it is to bolt the panel on a rack on the roof, what you alluded to with the human connection is really the key. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that we came in under budget and overperformed. We got evaluated positively in October. January, first week of January, the DOE sends a letter saying what? This project no longer aligns with the current administration's criteria.
Yeah.
So how far do we get? How far do we have to go with our goals?
Yeah, so to give a step back, so the Puerto Rico Energy Resilience Fund is the name of the grant. We were awarded in 2024, and our scope of work was 200 homes in rural adjuntas for specifically people with medical conditions and with low income. So we were, overperforming. We were going to, the initial timeline was 5 years to complete the grant, and through our pace, we were going to complete it in about 3 years. So we were, going quickly, making sure that we can do all these installs, and while there was an administration change, there was a freeze for about 2 or 3 months. So we had those challenges, but still we were able to recalibrate and be flexible and nimble enough to continue on track. So I think it was, like April, May, we were seeing other grants getting shut down left and right. So we were, checking our backs to see if we didn't get anything cut. But we were flying low. We were being as easy as possible to work with, doing the work, getting the stuff done, not asking a ton of questions, making sure that, we were flying under the radar. If honestly, we just saw like a ton of grants getting shot down, and I was impressed that we hadn't even been addressed before. So when we had that evaluation process during October, I thought for sure that was the right moment. They were gonna take any reason, nitpick whatever thing they could find and cancel it. But they didn't. We presented, we were over our initial goals of installations and under budget. So they gave us the yes, and now we're completing our 110th installation. We're set to complete it in around May. And even though they did cut it in January, and as you mentioned, it was very vague, I think what we want to do is, instead of allocating that resource of, trying to get the funding back, which I definitely think some people have to fight for that and speak about how and why we got the funding so that terminated, so that people are aware of that. But I see it as what you mentioned. We can get the industry to be able to fill in the gap and do the rest of the 90 installs that we haven't been able to do. So we're currently doing that appeal, and we've already gotten a ton of traction. So I'm happy that we were able to do 110 installations.
Yeah.
Obviously bummed that we couldn't reach those 90 that we've already scoped out and talked to, but
Well, our 5% match was $250,000, right? And we raised that for the most part, if you could say.
yeah.
But then when they cut it, it ended up, to get to the full 200, the 90 plus houses, there's a $1.7 million shortfall. But what
Yeah.
I love is how people in the industry have stepped up. We had, a $100,000 donation. Nancy and I went down to thank the company and the person in person in New York City, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna donate containers of material. Our industry can tell the story that if the grants stop, but the need is still there, we can step in because it's our time as an industry." And I think that's the big positive story.
Yeah.
So come on delegations with your solar companies, come on delegations with your universities. We're going to go in April with a Princeton delegation, the 50-year reunion of alumni. Nancy's going to give us the hook pretty soon because we've got to talk to them in prep mode. But before she does, I would say any university, if you love the university you graduated from, form a network. Princeton has 850 people on a sustainability LinkedIn network. And they have 25 people coming with us. And we have Duke, and we have Northeastern's done delegations, Notre Dame, Loyola Maryland, all these universities. So it's a 3 to 5 day experience, but it really is transformative.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's been done very well. Safe experiences, but profound transformative experiences. And you get a lot of the credit. Everybody deserves credit. Stephen's done a great
Yeah.
job on the delegations. We've had solar leaders in small delegations and larger delegations. Everybody comes back saying, I want to do more of this. So
Yeah.
we need to be a vehicle for that altruism.
Well, I think this ties in well to the book that I gave you today after the San Diego trip, right? It's American Carnage, and talking about how, Musk came in, cut a lot of programming, right? These are 11 stories of real people. And, in these first couple stories, I'm hearing how communities came together to support them through those times, right? I mean, this is the dynamic, the DOE cutting, a grant that we were doing great work. And, I think there's avenues of connecting even right now, right? I mean, TSA workers haven't been paid for a while. And you're seeing food banks and people coming together to support amidst, unprecedented times. And, one of the things that I wrote in that first little page to you was, not just about being the change that we want to see in the world, but, creating it. And, something that hit home when you were talking about the domestic violence in Puerto Rico. I think domestic violence and any violence against women, I've had a lot of women share with me their stories of being abused. And, we need as men to step forward and, not just be in the background supporting kind of in the shadows, but be, there. And I even watched a video today about a woman who was talking about her abuse and how she saw bystanders, seeing this as bad and look away, right? So, I know that within any dynamic of cultivating support, it requires people at all different levels and people to stand up. So,
It makes me think of our partner Casa Pueblo and their story. So Alexis tells this so well. It's really de la protesta a la propuesta. They've had a sharp edge on their protesting. They were able to successfully avoid a mine destroying their forests. Now they're the leaders in a forest movement on the island, so impactful. And it really is a revolution of love. It's not a revolution of armed conflict. You'll never win that. But a revolution of love, and you see how enthusiastic people come out of these delegations. It's not the normal day in, day out of doing your job, even in the best of companies that have a good vision to send some people on this delegation. So I think your point's well taken. We're living in stressful times where hate is out there, bad acting's out there, but we have a resilient industry that's going to win the day in the energy marketplace, and it's going to create enhanced life for people. Lower cost of power, cleaner energy. How can you be, there's huge bipartisan support for that. And so I think the resiliency has an arm that's related to the protests, but the much stronger arm and branch, if you will, is the positive proposal of how life-giving this will be, of a planet or a community, island like Puerto Rico, living with stable electricity because the sun's right there. It just makes common sense. It now makes economic sense.
Yeah.
And we gotta keep persevering and showing that resiliency on all levels. I'm confident we're gonna win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in that vein, I think a quick connecting point before Mama Jordan pulls the plug here because of timing is, the pillar of women in our, foundation. And then also, this is a big year for women in farming. And, recently interviewing Suzanne Ballet and, even speaking with Chris Cashin, we can...
We got the 2 minute.
Knocking on the
we
window?
got the 2 minute warning.
Yeah,
2 minute or 5 minute?
Five.
But this is for the Princeton delegation, so.
No, what I will say is we could cut to those clips right now, and it will show, those two women as leaders in ag.
We mostly are feeding the soul, I feel like.
Yeah.
The flowers, the plants, and, that really, to me, it's like, yes, we all love to eat well, but it's also feeding the soul of being able to enjoy the beauty around you, and that's kind of what we create.
Yeah.
So whether it's a landscape or cut flower bouquet or wedding bouquets, even all of our farm store is all like, you walk in and you see the post and beam look, and it's just like brings you joy just to see the structure of the building, and then what's around you, whether it's creating something or a smell or a touch, like it just brings so much joy to different people in different ways. So that's kind of like why we built the structure the way we did. Yeah.
There's a beauty within what it means to push and support women in general, right? It has been, and I think our industry is one where, both in solar and farming, is one where, we need that now more than ever. And Katie and Suzanne are, great figures locally here in New York, and I know there's plenty in Puerto Rico too. So, yeah, I just...
Well, to your point, shout out to both of them, and we interviewed Suzanne together with her husband, David. Mm-hmm. He's such a great spokesperson for American Farmland Trust, and there is a role of support for us men that are liberated, if you could use that term, to say, I think of our great friend Carolyn Wu, who wouldn't have ever been as successful as she's been if her partner David wasn't a balancer and the family dynamic. So I hope you two both find women of the caliber that I was able to find with Nancy, and let's cut it there.
Maintain your happy.
Yeah, because we know she's going to be very timely. I know we
happy wife, happy life. It's a true statement.
No, I think just in closing, maybe it would be good to put forward a, I know we've been talking about this podcast of Harvesting the Sun Rooted in Trust, and a lot of the work within Let's Show the Sun. I'd be interested in who you'd like to see come on the podcast next.
Ooh.
And kind of close with that.
On the Let's Share the Sun side, or on
the Lucas
side?
Barreto side,
On
whatever
the
you're.
Barreto side. I think energy's become very political in this day and age, and I don't like that. But I think someone who has more of a political perspective would be good to talk to and see what their opinions are in terms of where energy's going, especially in Puerto Rico. It's become very, very, very political, and there's a lot of interest behind a lot of the decisions being made. So I'm not sure who specifically, because I'm not too in the political world, but it's definitely something important.
All right.
One day, maybe Lucas for president.
I have some
Anyways.
ideas.
Who knows?
Should be a woman, but we'll go into that in our next episode.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thank
Great
you.
job. We did it.
With 3 minutes to spare.
Let's go.